John Jones is set to fight Stipe Miocic at the end of the year. But does anyone even care? Before we get into that, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. So it's rumored that John Jones is supposed to be fighting Stipe at UFC 209 in November. But Mark, do you even care about this fight anymore?
Not one little bit anymore. 4 years ago or something, I'd have been so excited about this. You've got the GOAT of the heavyweight division, Stipe Miocic, against the up and coming in that division, John Jones. Now it just feels like it's John Jones's last supper to beat off an old man. Not in that way. I shouldn't have said that.
What, Mark?
To get him out of there and then ride off into the sunset, giving Stipe one last paycheck. It just feels so artificial. It just feels so forced. Are you bothered at all?
No, I'm really not. It's a fight, like you were saying. If it happened a while ago, then yes, maybe there'd be some interest in there, two goats of a division going at each other. But both of those divisions have moved on so much now. It's like maybe Alex Pereira's the goat of the light heavyweight division now. Tom Aspinall maybe is the goat of the heavyweight division. It's really tricky. There's so many moving parts all the time. And it now feels like we've got two older veterans now just holding up a whole division, and it's getting such a shame. But Mike, if Stipe and Jones fought at what was it, UFC 209 back in November, would you have been interested in seeing the fight then? Because then it kind of felt like the heavyweight division hadn't quite found its feet after Francis had left. So it sort of seemed like, okay, yeah, Stipe's available. He's a former champion. He can get the title shot because there wasn't really anyone else ready to step up for that title shot, was there?
I even then, back in November when it was originally supposed to happen, I still wasn't that bothered then. And I think a lot of fans, even in November, were past it already. You just think, like we said then, it feels like one last feed for John Jones before they both ride off into the sunset.
Yeah.
Miocic hasn't won a fight since 2020, and he hasn't fought since 2021. John Jones has slowed down so much recently. I just don't think this is a good fight at all, and I don't know why they're continuing to push it. When it's announced, and if they're actually both in the cage, will I watch it? Of course. I'll watch any fight like that, of that caliber. But it just feels like it's like you're doing your bit for the old veterans of the division, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it does feel like that, doesn't it? And that's the thing. I think though, back at 209, I did have a bit more interest in the fight. Yeah, I thought Stipe was probably going to get battered, but it felt like after Jones just dismantled Cyril Gane in like what was it, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever it was, very
Something.
quick. And it just felt like, okay, Tom was injured at the time. Pavlovich was on a bit of a run. Volkov had come off a loss. I think there was no one really ready to step up. So at that point, I didn't mind it. I thought, okay, yeah, former champion. There's a lot of history in that division. Why not? Right? Because it was more of a case of there's no one else available. But now we do have someone available, right? And it's just so strange. You've got Tom Aspinall ready to go. But, John Jones now hasn't fought in 17 months. Do you think he should have been stripped of the belt by now?
I think he should have been quite a long time ago, to be honest. Yeah, I don't care if you're John Jones or if you're a new contender. If you are the champion and you're not active, injuries, you do give a little bit of leeway there, don't you? But just due to inactivity alone, the heavyweight division's dying a death right now. We've only got a few blimps of hope. So why would you keep this going? Just get rid of it, strip him. Connor was stripped for less the time in
Yeah.
activity than what Jones is right now. And if they can do that to what at the time was the face of the company, do it to John Jones. You don't owe him anything, surely. He's give you so many
Yeah.
fights, good fights in the past. Look, I'm actually a fan of John Jones. I sound like a hater right now, but fair's fair. Let the division move on. Don't do what you did to the light heavyweight division as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with the idea of them letting him keep the belt while he's injured. Like, yeah, fine, he's injured. You get your 12-month grace period. Totally fine. But the big problem is now he's essentially refusing to fight Tom. That's the big problem for me. Like, if he said, right, okay, I'm back from injury, I'm going to come back in training and I'm going to fight Tom in November at UFC, whatever it is, 209, then 309, should I say, then yeah, go for it, right? That seems ideal. But because he's basically refusing to fight the interim champion, who's already defended the bloody belt, That's when it's an issue for me. Now he should, right, get lost, mate. Get this belt stripped. You're no longer our champion, because I don't think the fans see him as a champion anymore. Tom Aspinall wore the gold shorts, the new heavyweight gold shorts, before John Jones did. He is
Yeah.
our champion, right?
That's exactly it. Fans, they deserve more from the championship contenders. You know, like, you save the legacy fights for another time. These shouldn't be your headliners. They shouldn't be
No.
the absolute, that drives the ticket prices and ticket sales up. The legacy fights like Stipe versus Jones, it should have happened a while ago. Didn't. Now you're holding up other contenders in that division, hungry contenders such as Tom Aspinall. Is it any wonder that we are a Tom Aspinall fans on this channel? But get
But
rid of him, honestly. I don't think
yeah.
it's needed anymore. John Jones, if he did beat Stipe and he went off into the sunset, that's me, I'm done. A couple of years ago, you'd go, right, okay, no question about it. John's the best.
Yeah.
Now you think it's a bit trickery, isn't it? It's full of it, and it stinks of insincerity. It stinks of holding up the division. It stinks of fixed fights, if I do dare to say that myself.
Mm. Yeah, I get what you said. Not quite fixed fights, but favoured matchups, right? This is laying up John Jones to become the GOAT of the heavyweight division by beating up an old firefighter, isn't it? That's what this is in place for. This is to build John Jones's stock. And that's the only reason why I can see that they're desperate to give Stipe this title shot, because of that name value, because of the history of the belt he holds. And, what's strange is Stipe has not won a fight in over 4 years. Why do you think, Mark, the UFC is so adamant at giving him this title shot?
I think it's just due to reputation, what he's done for the heavyweight division in the past. Similar to what they're doing with John Jones. Okay, this is what you did before, but we've said a million times, MMA is all about what have you done for me lately? And for the fans, not much. Seriously, his last fight was against Francis Ngannou, who has since left the UFC, had 2 boxing fights, lost them both, but that's a different story. And Stipe hasn't been around one bit. I don't see why you would be holding up the division for Stipe Miocic. Seriously, it doesn't make any sense. The heavyweight division, I thought last year, I did a video on this last year, Dwayne, of that the heavyweight division is being revived again. How quickly those dreams have been crushed right now. Those
Yeah.
flames have been extinguished, and now we just got 2 veterans who should have fought a while ago. They're lined up to battle against each other to apparently claim the best heavyweight ever. Really? Come on.
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? You can't have it. Feels like a fake gold, right? It feels like a fake championship. John Jones versus Stipe, whoever raises that belt is a faker. They're not real. We all know who the best heavyweight on the planet is, and it's Tom Aspinall, isn't it? Without a shadow of a doubt, he's the guy. So, you know, it sounds silly to even ask this question, Mark, because I imagine I already know what your answer is. Should Stipe be moved out of the way and Tom Aspinall gets that title shot over Stipe Miocic?
Absolutely. The interim champion has had to defend his interim belt, which is ridiculous to say. Next, it should be him. Dana has even said himself, absolutely, the winner of John Jones versus Stipe fights Tom Aspinall. We don't need this middleman. Get this middleman out of there. Are there any fans still wondering, seriously, I wonder who'd win out of John Jones and Stipe? I've been wanting to watch that fight for years, and I still want to watch it now. It's still Stipe Miocic. It's still the heavyweight GOAT. While we're at it, why don't we have John Jones versus Chuck Liddell just to claim that he's the best light heavyweight in the world? If we're going off that, why
Yeah,
don't why don't we just have that with light heavyweight? It's so silly, and I think Stipe should probably do the right thing and just step away.
yeah,
I'm a fan of Stipe as well. He's done so much for the sport, but Father Time catches up with everyone, and interest has dwindled. The last time he fought, Alex Pereira wasn't in the UFC. That's how long ago
mm,
it was.
yeah. It's a long, long time, and what's tricky is I get it though for Stipe as well. Like, why does he care, right? Like, why would he give up his opportunity to Tom Aspinall? I totally get that, because it makes it difficult. Like, all right, okay, if Stipe is not going to retire, who else would he fight, right? It makes it really tricky. Like, there's no one else in that division that seems like an interesting matchup either, because it feels unfortunate that Stipe is so old. He's just going to get battered, isn't he? He's going to be like, Tony Ferguson of the heavyweight division.
It feels that way because Stipe is what, 41, something like that.
And who knows, Mark? He's just an old bastard. That's it, isn't it?
Well, he's he's one of those. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. His last win against Cormier, it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But again, that was 2020 when he was in his late 30s, and you think then that's even still old for a heavyweight competitor. Look, Randy Couture was the champion at 45.
Mm,
Power's the last thing to go, but along with that, you need speed, agility, everything else that comes with it. And I don't know if Stipe is still well versed with that skill set, those attributes. I think this is just going to be him trying to catch up with his youth, and unfortunately, John Jones is just going to beat the living hell out of him. Look, if it does happen, I'd love to actually see the fight, and I hope it's a competitive matchup. I'd hate to see Stipe just thrown to the wolves. It feels like, why would you do that to someone who has been billed as the heavyweight GOAT?
mm,
Why would you throw him away just to give John Jones a pat on the back and say that, yep, you
mm.
are the best, even though you've only ever had 2 fights at heavyweight, you are the GOAT of this division? Doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think though, with Stipe and Jones, because they're nearing the end of their careers now, do you think after this fight they're both just going to retire?
I think it's going to be a double retirement. Maybe they won't retire in the ring in the cage at the same time, but I think that will be the last outing for both of them.
Yeah.
Jones is in a position where he probably can get away with it a little bit more in regards to, look, there's always going to be another up and coming competitor like Tom Aspinall. So you go, well, where do you cut it? You can't fight forever. And it
Yeah.
doesn't work like that. Look, the names that are on Jones's resume, these names that is dismantled in the past, they were the best that the division had to offer at the time. We could go on forever. Rashad Evans, Rampage Jackson, Shogun Hua, Lyoto Machida. There's so many at the time that was considered the best that division could throw at him. Now he's got through that. I just find it ridiculous how they're holding up another division just to tickle his bollocks and just to say, yeah, you're fantastic in this division as well.
Yeah, that's what I don't get is what hold does Stipe and John Jones have over Dana White? Like, why are we holding this division up? I don't get it. This is probably the most skilled that the heavyweight division has ever been. You have some really, really talented fighters near the top of this division. Let's get it going. Let's get it moving. And right now, it's just getting fully held back, and it's a shame, isn't it? Do you think, Mark, though, that we'll ever get to see Tom Aspinall versus John Jones?
No, I think it's gonna be a complete dream. I think it's gonna be what would have happened.
Mm,
It feels like, when there's always that dickhead who says, who would have won, Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali? And you're like, yeah, but that would have never happened. The timelines would have never aligned. This is
yeah,
an opportunity. This is a golden opportunity. You've mentioned before, you think this is going to be one of the biggest pay-per-views ever. And it would be fantastic for UK MMA all over. Everyone would be rooting behind Tom, I presume. It'd be so good, but I don't think we're ever going to get to see that. I think it's just going to be a big what if, and it's always going to leave that question mark on Tom Aspinall. From John Jones fans, they'll be saying, yeah, but he never beat John. He said, he were
yeah,
trying. He's been trying for a couple of years now, and John's just ignored him. Would have rather beat Stipe Miocic and then ride off into the sunset to, I don't know, do cocaine or whatever the hell he wants to do in his spare time. I don't know.
yeah. It does feel that way, doesn't it? And it is such a shame because, like you said before, like Tom Aspinall versus John Jones, I think could be one of the biggest fights ever within the UFC. I'm talking Conor Khabib levels. I think it's going to be massive. It's a huge opportunity for both guys. Sell a lot of pay-per-views. I think the whole UFC fan base is now behind Tom, especially after that fantastic win over Curtis Blades. There's no argument anymore, is there, for John Jones fans to say no, he shouldn't fight Tom. Tom needs to wait his turn. No, he doesn't. It's there. He's ready to go, and he deserves that shot. But Mark, it feels like we're not going to get to see Tom Aspinall versus John Jones. So who should Tom Aspinall fight next?
The irritating thing is I can't even think of anyone else who deserves it. He's the interim champion. He needs to fight the champion. Now
Mm,
we're in an awful predicament as fans and surely the UFC in general, where you've got the interim champion chomping at the bit to become the undisputed champion, but the champion, it looks like, is going to retire.
Yeah.
So after that, where does he go? Tom's beaten pretty much everyone else. What
Yeah.
else does he have to prove? He is the interim champion. That's when he should have been granted the keys to the undisputed gold there. As soon as he knocked out Pavlovich, that should have been it. Right, he's next now. Stipe,
Yeah.
sorry, boy. Earn it again.
Yeah, and then they could have done Stipe versus Tom Aspinall while they're waiting, but apparently Stipe turned it down. You think, well, if Stipe's turning down fights, he shouldn't get title shots. It's that simple. But yeah, it's tricky now, isn't it? Because if John Jones does not fight Tom Aspinall and he retires, Tom has beaten everyone in the top 5 of his division already, apart from one person, and that's Cyril Gane. But Cyril Gane's having a rematch with Volkov, and he also, I don't think Cyril Gane deserves a title shot. He's lost 2 title shot opportunities already. But Mark, I actually think the perfect fight for Tom Aspinall, I know it's a pipe dream and it's probably not going to happen, but now that the UFC have got all this Saudi Arabia money and all this Abu Dhabi money, Francis Ngannou versus Tom Aspinall for the undisputed heavyweight title of the world. I think that is the perfect fight because that's the only other person I can see, right, who's got the knockout power, who's got the wrestling ability, who's got the physical strength to face up against Tom Aspinall. And the only person that comes to mind is Francis.
I'd be on board with that if Francis did ever sign back with the UFC. That's
Yeah,
when I could actually formulate a proper opinion about it. Because, like you said, it's a bit of a pipe dream at the minute. You never know. Francis might come running back to the UFC with his tail between his legs because he went off for more money, got beat by Tyson Fury, and then got knocked out drastically in the second round by Anthony Joshua. So you go, maybe he will come back. But if he's made
yeah,
all that money and if that's what his game is, then so be it. But you never know,
yeah,
though. That is an absolute super fight. And the money there, it might even tempt Francis to come back. We don't know what pay they're getting, but if
not
that
cool.
fight is ever on the cards, guaranteed that would be huge. Fans would
Massive.
tune in from all over. Other than that, Dwayne, I don't actually know. There's rumors of Alex Pereira. I'd like to see that, but I don't think that I don't think Alex would stand much of a chance. I think Tom would grapple his head off.
Yeah, I agree. I think look, I like the idea of Alex Pereira stepping up and attempting to become a 3 division champion. I love a good story like that. But I think Tom Aspinall will kick the shit out of him. I think he's massive. He's really strong. He's a fantastic striker. But his striking's not going to come into play. Tom Aspinall even said, he said, look, if I fight Alex Pereira, I am sprinting at him and I'm going to rugby tackle him straight to the ground. It's going to be like literally, it's going to be like Goldberg versus The Rock. Just going to charge forward and plant him. It's going to be over so quick. It's just not going to happen, is it? Alex Pereira is a great fighter. I love watching him fight. But he's grappling. He's not at the level where he can fight someone like Tom Aspinall, is it?
Well, he hasn't been tested. That's the thing. No one's really tried much with him. Adesanya, slightly. But it's
Yeah.
similar to, like, say, the Max Holloway effect sort of thing. Everyone wants to be the guy to crack him, to finally crack that code. Same with Alex Pereira. Everyone just wants to stand with him. Same with Sugar Sean. No one
Yeah.
really wants to grapple with a boy, do they? It's like welcoming whoever the opponent is in. I will just say though, like it would break my heart in two if Alex ever did knock Tom Aspinall out. But if Alex ever did manage to be a 3-time champion, I think that blows John Jones out of the water. Right, we've got a new goat now. That's it, and
Yeah.
you can't dispute this. Surely,
100%. And I think that's what's so interesting and what's so fun about this sport is yes, I'm a huge Tom Aspinall fan, but I'm a big fight fan. And if Alex Pereira did manage to pull that off, I mean, what a moment, right? That's a moment that we'll remember forever. Where were you when Alex Pereira became a 3 division champion?